Hey, I know y'all have other things to get to as well, so I'll try to be brief in my intro. The intro is just we've had another busy week of committee work. Obviously, we talked yesterday on the appropriations process. Happy to take any other questions on that. Expect a busy week next week on the floor. I think we'll have at least 20 bills on the floor next Monday to go. And so I think there's been some misunderstanding by some people that the appropriations conversation we're having would spill over to policy on our side. Policy bills are still advancing. They'll still be on the floor. Still take votes on those and look forward to taking any questions you may have.
Story this morning about all the departures since Superintendent Walters took office, 130, probably more than 130 at this point. At what point does the legislature become concerned and maybe take action?
You know, I was just getting briefed on that literally right before I walked in here. I'm not aware of the numbers because I'm not aware of how many total employees he has, so I'm not sure the percentage of 130. So I need to get more well-versed on that. We want to make sure it continues to operate and serve the school districts in the state well. Had some complaints that they've had some issues getting to the appropriate people, superintendents and the like. And so we're looking at it closely, but I'm not familiar with the scope. What does 130 represent as an overall percentage, to be honest with you?
The bill shucking has continued on the House side. Representative Eccles said yesterday that in this, I guess, budget kind of issue that would continue on. Do you have any comments on that?
They do that every year. I mean, the bill shucking, I was kind of surprised by the question yesterday, actually. In fact, I had to turn around and ask after we got out of there what they even meant by that. The only one I'm aware of is the chaplain, the House chaplain or the school chaplain issue. And so I may have to lean on y'all to tell me which ones they're shucking because I honestly don't know. It hasn't had any impact on what we're doing over here.
You did mention bringing in, I'm not sure which bill would be shucked for it, but raising the sheriff pay.
Okay. Yeah, that's a policy issue that Leader Eccles has been long pursuing. I think they're attributing it to this issue, but for as long as I've been here, they've shucked Senate bills to do their own priorities if they don't advance over here one way or another. So that's the way the process works. We can reject it and send it to conference if we want to. I mean, it's not that big a deal.
Are there any appropriations bills in our policy? I mean, usually I associate a lot of appropriations with policy changes.
Yeah, there are some. There were doubly assigned bills that went through the policy committee that got caught up in part of this. Most of them had a companion bill of some sort. Whether or not the House has advanced those, I'm not sure. My number one priority, obviously, is the car tag bill, trying to get that through. I haven't made any bones about that. But my number two priority is making sure that we get this budget transparency process right and forever change the way we do budgeting here. And so I'm committed to that end, regardless of what other consequences there may be.
Leader Eccles also said, that Senate could have asked us to change our rules and we would have, been on board with this transparency, but he says you guys never asked them to do that.
My counterpart is a speaker, and he and I have had a lot of conversation about this, and they did not wish to go along with what we were doing.
So what's the plan now? Today's the deadline. Do you extend the deadline on appropriations bills, or what?
We need to see if the House really will get us numbers on Monday at the latest, like they said, and if they get us numbers on Monday, we can recalibrate. But right now, just moving on to policy bills on the floor and going forward. Obviously, we'll have to use some avenue on things that are important to our caucus getting into the budget, but we haven't made any final decisions on that yet. The ball is in their court. A few weeks ago, they were telling you and the media that our transparency process was unnecessarily delaying the process, that we would normally already be exchanging numbers and all that. And then when it came time to exchange numbers, they said, oh, whoa, we're not ready. And so ball's in their court, and we're waiting on them to give us numbers.
Will you be meeting with the speaker between now and Monday?
No. I don't have any definitive plans to do so. Sometimes we just randomly talk over the weekend, but
Okay.
There's no definitive plans.
Are you concerned because these House bills did not go through Senate appropriations that they might get tagged on to something that's over in the House now, and like you said, you would reject those amendments, they would go to conference, or the idea might get pushed into JCAB, which is a bit less transparent, that your goal of transparency might get muddled?
Yeah, I'm very concerned that could be the end result, but we will not allow that to be the end result. So we still have GCCA, which you're the only reporter who's going to care about that one probably. But you know we have the conference committee standing for the appropriations. We can still use that. That's still a very open process. And we have other avenues at our disposal, and we also can change things around to accommodate transparency. We will have a transparent budget process regardless of what it takes. There may be different avenues we have to take depending on the bill, but we are 100% committed to having this budget in the open the entire time.
I have a couple questions about SJR 34, public vote on abolishing the Judicial Nominating Commission. Are there particular appellate court rulings that you think has really given this proposal momentum this year? And
There may be with individual members. I've been proposing doing this for going on a decade now. We've always gotten out of the Senate and haven't had the support in the House because we tried to do the federal model, which is, you know, the Senate confirming, and the federal model, the president's choice, and this model would be the governor's choice. I know the House wants joint confirmation. That's not something we've done before. But as far as is there a particular reason why the House got on board this year when they haven't been on board in the past? I can't talk for them.
well, why do you think that's a good idea?
It's a great idea because we hold them accountable, and it's the only check and balance where the legislature has no check and balance in the whole system. Now, I have an appointee to JNC. The Speaker has an appointee. I can't speak to what his appointee has to do, but mine, they cannot be an attorney, cannot be married to an attorney, cannot be related to an attorney, and facetiously, I mean, they can't even ever met an attorney in their life. I mean, it's a very restrictive appointment. And so I've put some extremely high-quality people in there. Had Darrell Woodard on there. I've had, no, Darrell Woodard I put on DOC. I had Rick Nagel and Alan Wright on there. They're great people, well accomplished in their own right, but they've never practiced law. So the questions to be able to ask and all of that, they're behind the 8 ball already. This needs to be transparent. It's the same argument I have on the budget process. JNC is one of the most opaque processes we have in the state. They're not subject to open records. We have no idea what questions are asked or if they're meritorious questions. And so I'm just trying to bring it into the public. Now, that's not under my name. That's a Senator Daniels bill.
Right.
But I believe in it wholeheartedly.
This idea of the House confirmation of judicial nominees, is that enough to derail it, do you think?
It could. We'll see.
Thanks.
But with the concerns you have, I mean, why scrap the JNC entirely as opposed to add Senate confirmation after that?
We've tried that, and the House has rejected that. So now we're just kind of waiting to see what I think they advanced something recently, didn't they? I didn't see the whole
Send it back with the House confirmation.
House confirmation. Yeah, in the past, they've wanted like 4-year terms in exchange and all that. We haven't come to an agreement yet on anything. But I have to give credit where credit is due. I'm glad that they're having the conversation this year and they're advancing the idea. We haven't come on board with the Senate and House confirmation yet, so there's still a lot of discussions to go.
But are you optimistic it seems to be gaining a little more momentum than it has in the past decade that you've been pushing for it? Do you think or do you think that's a fair characterization?
Yeah, I think it's long overdue. Whether or not it gets to the finish line this year and whether or not the voters accept it or not, that's an important part of this. It's going to change a whole way of life for the trial bar, and I'm sure they will put in a ton of money to try to defeat such a measure. So I want to make sure that whatever we do doesn't set us back, but it moves us forward. And so if we have a good chance of passing it on the ballot and the Senate is comfortable, we'll advance it. Otherwise, we'll let it go for another day.
Do you think there'd be some big money on the other side?
You know, I don't know. I think there's a lot of support, but I have yet to see, and maybe I wouldn't be privy to it, but I haven't seen a plan that articulates a real comprehensive strategy to get it passed or defeated yet, to be fair. So I'm in the dark on that side right now. I'm just working on the legislative side.
Question about but just before we move on to judicial matters, my understanding is that you've empowered Senator Howard, who's carried Chairman Wallace's judicial evaluation program. Didn't pass last year. Any update on heard? Maybe there's some sort of agreement on that.
You know, it's been a few weeks since I've engaged on that. I've talked to the Supreme Court as well on that. trying to see if there's something workable, because they'll ultimately have to implement it. Chief Justice has been over talking to us, and I appreciate their input, but it's been 2 or 3 weeks since I've been actively engaged in that issue. I do think it has more legs this year than it did last.
Or where are you personally?
Still got to evaluate exactly how the evaluation bill impacts. I haven't seen final language, but overall, the having more information on the people who make decisions is not a bad thing. I just got to make sure it's workable.
Last week, you and Speaker McCall both were asked about authorizing officers in Oklahoma to make contact with and detain people they suspect of being illegal alien or illegal immigrants. And McCall, I think he even said that a bill could be introduced this week, but I'm not aware of anything being introduced.
There's been work behind the scenes. I think you'll see something come out. There's not an agreement completely yet, but I believe you'll see some announcements shortly.
Are there any issues around the Texas law that kind of causes some delays in this bill, you think? Or?
I think we have more information at our disposal to try to draft it in such a way that may be not enjoined, but there's going to be challenges to anything we do. But it's a great challenge to Oklahoma law enforcement when we do have a federal government that's not willing to enforce the border right now.
Can I ask you a little bit about the Senate's education, priorities? I think that we trying to get some more information just to break down the overall number in SJR 31, or SR 31. But I think that there's a stipend for non-teacher school employees. There's some other potentially one-time or even recurring numbers. I think the superintendent asked for us, almost a quote-unquote cut if you back out the 160. I don't want to get into the weeds too deeply.
Yeah.
As we think about education and the negotiation between the House and the Senate, are you close? Are you not? What is a hard must for you? What are concerns you have with what their proposals are?
We don't know what their proposal is yet, so I can't speak to that. As far as ours, I'm a big believer in delegating and empowering people that know a lot more about these issues than I do. So I would really reference you to Senator Pugh to give you the in-the-weeds discussion on what those one-times are. Our commitment to teachers, our commitment to record investment in public education, our commitment to empowering parents to be able to make the best choice for their kids, that is unwavering. But as far as those details on the granular level, Senator Pugh is extremely well-versed on that. I'm not as well-versed on it.
Any update on what you're hearing from the Tax Commission or people who are dealing with the new tax credits?
Yeah, you've seen me and the Speaker and I both have been advancing and our names on each other's bills. We've been working pretty closely on trying to have some fixes to that, working with Tax Commission, getting some input from the Governor's office. On the House side, I haven't been hearing from them. But we're both in a line to try to fix some of those issues, the paying debt and that type of stuff on it. I think we'll have that fixed, being able to help homeless children and poorer children, and then trying to align it with the school year to the tax year. We're making great headway on that.
Just on the budget, just to clarify, Leader Eccles told us yesterday, House leadership handed over their numbers to Senate leadership, essentially just saying, here are the numbers, you guys talk amongst yourselves, but don't put them out in the public. Is that true, or?
No, it's not true. The House brought numbers. They said you cannot take pictures, you cannot take copies, you cannot share these with anyone. Here you can look at an incomplete and unapproved. So it was what the Speaker and the Appropriations Chair, I presume, want. But they've not got buy-in from their caucus on those numbers, and they said these are not what we're actually advocating for, but here's our starting numbers on the thing. So I wasn't there, obviously. This is secondhand, so it's paraphrasing what happened. But to say they gave us numbers, I guess technically, in a legalistic sense, they did hand over sheets and told us we could not take them, we could not share them, and we could not live with those numbers because those weren't their final numbers.
Did they give you any kind of a timeline?
They said that Monday by the latest, but we'll see.
And is there any, are y'all
You know, it's no. We have sent over a solution that they did not like, that we worked with the State Department of Education on, and then we actually worked with their House attorneys on too, but then they didn't like what the end result was. That's fine. I mean, I'm not wed to the particular solution. I'm wed to finding a solution to it. They sent us over 3 drafts at 3:30 on Tuesday afternoon, which all made it abundantly clear that they don't want to keep a commitment long-term on paying that one pay raise on off the formula. That's not the position that we committed to Oklahoma last year, so we're still working through some disagreements on it. But the good thing is we've finally seen what they want. We've seen language, and once we have language on a paper, things start moving a lot quicker.
Just for clarification on that, the number for this year, the 16.1 million.
It's 16.67. I don't know why they keep saying 16.1.
I don't know either.
The Kevin Wallace has said that. You're quoting him accurately,
Well,
but
Thompson said it too to me the other day.
yeah, it's in the House, the sheet that they showed us, but we can't share. It says 16.1, but
16-ish million.
Yeah.
What is that, when you talk about taking that every year, is that this is just I don't want to make an assumption, is that added 16.1 onto whatever the base appropriation would be for OSD?
I think that's probably the way it would work out. There's no agreement to that end, but what we appropriated completely, and the House, to their credit, did too. They stood up on the floor and championed it and voted for it last year and did a heck of a job getting it passed. We funded the Senate, the House, we funded, and the governor actually signed that one, that bill that fully funded the teacher pay raise for all certified personnel. We were very clear it was all certified personnel. So not just classroom teachers, but counselors, reading specialists, librarians. And we also did it for all schools, regardless of their status on the formula. That was actually a request from the House of Representatives that we acquiesced to in exchange for not doing the Oklahoma Student Fund. And we agreed that we would pay that one single pay raise that we did last year in perpetuity on that. And that's at least what the Senate understanding and what we told our members and what we told the public. And we thought the House and us, we were on one accord. Evidently, they just wanted to keep that commitment for 1 year, and that was news to me this week. And so that's where we're at an impasse right now. I think if we wanted to have a short-term solution and just fix the FY24, that's a fairly simple $16.67 million. Really, the State Department kept back $15 million out of the formula, and they just underestimated how much it would actually cost. So we really only had to come up originally with $1.67 million. That's the reason I know the actual number. And we had flex benefits allowance that we could have temporarily borrowed that money, replenished it in the budget. It was a simple fix. But as you've seen in this building, simple fixes rarely are the ones that prevail. So we're going to have a more complicated fix, and we're working hard toward that end. We've been laser focused on trying to make sure we keep our commitment, and we're glad, we're appreciative the House sent what their proposal was to us in draft form. We sent ours in a bill publicly available. We'll work out those differences and move it on down the road.
How do you feel about the press conference downstairs about, quote, reining in Ryan Walters?
You know,
Senate and
I wasn't consulted on what they're doing, so I have no idea how they propose to rein them in. I have no idea. What are they saying? Do you know?
it's going on right now.
Oh, sorry, I'm keeping you from from more entertaining
What's
press
your
conference.
reaction to the Attorney General's lawsuit against the two energy companies?
You know, he and I haven't really talked about that. I saw that, it's before the Supreme Court on whether or not he can intervene on the federal cases that the Speaker and I asked him to intervene on dealing with tribes, but I'm not well versed on the energy side of it. We were very involved in the securitization when I had James Lee Wright over here, Senator Lee Wright, working with his counterpart on the House side, but I haven't been consulted on that one.
He pointed out that a lack of legislative policy in part potentially led to this market manipulation of natural gas prices. Is that something the legislature's going to look at fixing this session so we don't have this happen again?
I hope he'll have concrete proposals for us if he thinks there's a shortcoming. I look forward to those. He's been very good about communicating with us normally on where he sees shortcomings, so I would expect if he said that, that we'll see some concrete solutions. I look forward to that.